8. Isabelle Quintero. In May 2022, police officers in Albuquerque, New Mexico responded to a call about a car parked in the middle of a highway ramp. Body cam footage showed a deputy approaching the vehicle in question, where a young woman seemed to be passed out behind the wheel with her windshield wipers still on and all of the doors locked. Officers pounded on the window as the woman slowly woke up. She was almost completely incoherent as she struggled to answer basic questions and needed assistance getting out of her car. The woman eventually identified herself as 21-year-old Isabelle Quintero. At first, she denied drinking any alcohol when asked by an officer, who pointed out that she literally had a bottle of booze in her hand when police approached her car. When Isabelle noticed a cop looking inside her vehicle, she started telling him that he didn't have permission to search. She even responded with a hard no when another officer asked if she'd undergo a field sobriety test. While being led away in handcuffs, she also told an officer repeatedly to shut the F up. Aware that the young woman wasn't exactly in her right mind, the officers displayed remarkable patience and professionalism as they helped her into their vehicle, put her seatbelt on, and drove her to the police station. Throughout the rest of the booking process, she was clearly spacing out in her own world. At one point, she repeatedly said that she was having fun. She also talked about how hot she thought the cops were, and she asked for a lawyer twice before telling the officers how funny she thought they all were and laughing like a mad woman. One thing Quintero was consistent about was her refusal to take a breathalyzer test. She was put in the drunk tank, where she continued talking to herself and laughing loudly. Not long after, she was charged with aggravated DWI and battery on a police officer. Records show that she was released while she squared away her legal issues in court. 7. Michelle Salentine. 28-year-old Michelle Salentine was in her 6th year of service in the Platteville, Wisconsin police force when an informant claimed she was a regular crack user and that she'd even used the drug while on the job. Her superiors were shocked since there had been no previous issues with Salentine. The informant contacted the FBI back in 2010 and said that they saw Salentine smoke crack at least 6 times, including when she was in uniform and carrying her service weapon. Throughout the investigation, the tipster updated law enforcement on Salentine's alleged drug use, which included 2 occasions where she used crack in the middle of the night before going back on duty. The wayward officer was also recorded using drugs in audio footage captured by the informant through a wire. During a search of Salentine's home, FBI agents found several suspected marijuana and crack pipes, as well as evidence of drug residue. Salentine admitted during questioning that she had been using crack for about a year. By then, it had gone from being a recreational habit to something she relied on to deal with her life problems. At least 2 people, including someone she lived with, said that they saw the cops' drug use firsthand. Salentine pleaded guilty to maintaining a crack house and served a year and 1 day in federal prison. As you've probably already guessed, she's no longer on the force. 6. Diamond Golden. On what started off as a normal Saturday afternoon in early June 2023, over 500 people attended a pop-up party thrown at a park in Lake Butler, Florida. According to police, a 23-year-old Gainesville woman named Diamond Golden used Facebook to spread the word about the gathering. Guests came in droves at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Members of the normally quiet community were shocked as the partygoers descended upon the peaceful park and filled nearby streets. Union County Sheriff's deputies saw a lot of people drinking and doing drugs as they tried to break up the disruptive event. They ended up using chemical agents to disperse the crowd, and at one point shots were even fired. Some partygoers later claimed that police officers shot into the crowd, but an agency spokesperson denied the allegation. Several people were arrested that day, including a young man who was accused of shooting another guest. Thankfully, nobody was seriously injured. Golden is accused of trying to cover up her role in planning the party by deleting crucial evidence from her phone. She allegedly has a history of being involved in similar events. Determined to stop the parties from continuing, authorities charged her with inciting or encouraging a riot. When the story broke headlines, the sheriff's office announced that Golden would be held on a $50,000 bond. Her case seems to be ongoing. 5. Olivia Lake. In January 2015, a lawyer from Poway, California named Jeffrey Lake and his wife Jackie Lake threw a Playboy-themed 18th birthday party for their young daughter Olivia. 200 people showed up to the bash, which was dubbed Liv's Playboy Mansion, including 150 guests who were under the legal drinking age. This didn't stop anyone from drinking though, since there was plenty of booze. An array of racy photos that were taken at the bash even popped up on social media throughout the night. But the fun ended when San Diego County deputies showed up responding to a noise complaint. According to a police report, deputies observed underage drinkers carrying alcoholic beverages outside the home. Inside the property, they found 2 unconscious partygoers. Law enforcement quickly broke up the gathering, and Jeff Lake was charged with violating the city's social host ordinance, which bans residents from hosting events for underage drinkers. He was also accused of acting argumentative toward deputies at the scene, and he initially claimed that he had done nothing wrong. Lake ultimately took a deal and pleaded guilty to a reduced infraction charge. In other words, it was more or less a violation at the same level of a traffic ticket. Had Lake been convicted of his original charge, he could have faced 6 months in jail and a fine of $1,000. Instead, he avoided jail time entirely and paid a measly $125 fine. 4. Macy Reagan and Dixie Styles. It's normal for parties to spiral out of control on the 4th of July, so sheriff's deputies in Bay County, Florida weren't too surprised when they were called to a home in Callaway in response to an assault and battery. According to a police report, a fight broke out at the party between a few men. Shortly after, 23-year-old Macy Reagan tried leaving the party and returning to her home next door. She was then confronted by 18-year-old Dixie Styles, who reportedly accused her of stealing both alcohol and vape pens. Reagan allegedly pulled a 9mm handgun from her waistband out for protection, and Styles knocked it out of her hand. The 2 women fought, and Reagan was accused of biting off the top of Styles' ear during the fight. Doctors were unable to reattach the top of Dixie's ear, and both women received multiple bruises and lacerations. Reagan was later charged with felony battery causing bodily harm, while Styles was hit with a battery charge. Their cases are still ongoing. 3. Vera Muli. Controversial party behavior is nothing new for the NYPD, and the 2021 holiday season was no exception. During one precinct's holiday party at a bar that year, a 26-year-old rookie cop named Vera Muli gave a lap dance to her boss, Lieutenant Nick McGarry. Viral footage showed Muli grinding on McGarry's lap in front of a crowd of onlookers. Some customers who witnessed the display were fine with it, including one person who pointed out that this is the type of thing that goes on at holiday cop parties. Other patrons were disgusted, telling reporters that it wasn't exactly something they wanted to look at while they were having dinner with their families. It didn't take long for Muli and McGarry to realize that they'd messed up. Their higher-ups were furious about the incident and the viral clip. Also, McGarry was married, and his wife was not happy. When asked about the story, the wife lost her temper and had to be restrained from attacking a reporter. And who can blame her? A police source told the New York Post that as a rookie, Muli was essentially less culpable than McGarry, who should have set an example for less experienced officers. After the footage circulated, he was reassigned to a transit division. Muli, who was not disciplined, told the Post that a co-worker dared her to give McGarry a lap dance. Being the natural life of the party, as she described herself, she lacked the foresight to predict the ways the situation could go wrong. The young woman apologized for what she did, clarifying that she didn't know McGarry was married when it happened and that she hoped it didn't cause damage to the couple's marriage. She also expressed remorse for the impact the ordeal had on McGarry's career, which basically relegated him to the rank of a subway cop. Muli went on to say that she didn't think she would have faced such harsh judgment if she'd been a man putting the moves on someone. She speculated that the incident would have been taken more as a joke and less as a scandal. But those weren't the circumstances, and it was arguably a moot point to think about the what-ifs of the situation. 2. Peaches. In 2008, police officers responded to a noise complaint from a duplex in Washington, D.C. There was a house party happening inside with a makeshift strip club, complete with underwear-clad women who were dancing for tips. Some partygoers initially claimed that it was just a birthday party. Others said that there was a bachelor party, but nobody could identify who the supposed guest of honor even was. Police also couldn't find the host, who some people identified as a woman that they only knew as Peaches. After failing to get to the bottom of the situation, the cops concluded that the home was abandoned and that the guests had not been legally invited there. They arrested 21 partygoers for unlawful entry. People claim they had permission to be at the event, but there was no way to confirm it without knowing who Peaches was or where to even find her. 16 defendants even sued the force, arguing that they had been unlawfully arrested that night. The charges were later reduced and then dropped entirely, but the lawsuit went back and forth for years in the court system. Judges initially ruled in favor of the partygoers and awarded them a whopping $680,000. The ruling was upheld by the DC Circuit Court of Appeals, but the officers appealed the case all the way to the Supreme Court, which reversed the decision and actually ruled in favor of the police. Meanwhile, Peach's identity remained hidden even in legal documents, which did not identify the woman's true name. Finally, in 2017, almost a decade after the party, and during the ongoing court battle, Peaches was publicly identified as a woman named Veronica Little. She worked as a bartender and was known for organizing private birthday and bachelor parties. She was extremely well-liked among almost everyone who knew her, and in an era before you could place an order for anything online, her connections proved invaluable for those looking to throw a massive get-together. The lawyer representing the plaintiffs who sued the police tried getting Peaches to cooperate in the court case, but she wanted nothing to do with the situation. Sadly, she passed away from respiratory complications in 2016 at only 50 years old. 1. Rebecca Warren. On the evening after Christmas in 2019, police in Auburn Hills, Michigan responded to several calls about a Jeep weaving between traffic lanes and sideswiping a guardrail along an interstate. Behind the wheel was 48-year-old State Representative Rebecca Warren, who told officers that she was heading home to Ann Arbor after an event in Detroit. It was strange that Warren was traveling on Interstate 75, which doesn't serve as a direct link between the two cities, but she didn't seem in her right mind at all that night. She performed poorly on a field sobriety test and even admitted to drinking 2 or 3 glasses of wine, but she refused to take a breathalyzer test. In dashcam footage of the traffic stop, Warren was heard saying, "I'm elected, I'm a senator. This is going to be the most famous arrest you've ever made." After being put in the back of a squad car, the politician could be heard talking about how the arrest could ruin her life. She expressed a fear that she wouldn't get a chance to fix her career after the story broke. A blood sample was eventually taken after police obtained a warrant, revealing a blood alcohol level of 0.21, over 2.5 times the legal limit. Under Michigan law, it qualified Warren as super drunk. The incident wasn't as life-ruining as she expected it to be. Almost immediately after being released on bond pending the outcome of her case, Warren issued a mea culpa on social media. She admitted to drunk driving, commended the police for handling the situation professionally, and apologized for her poor decisions. Warren remained vocally apologetic over the next few months while she sorted the case out, until she finally reached a point where she decided that she had done everything possible to show that her remorse was authentic. She pleaded guilty to a reduced misdemeanor DUI charge and was sentenced to a year of probation and 10 days of community service. Later that year, she decided against re-election. Thanks for watching. Looking back on your most embarrassing night at a party, would you rather have your behavior captured on camera and shared on social media, or catch a misdemeanor for acting unruly while being spared from having the footage broadcasted online? Let us know what you think in the comments down below.